In the 1970s, television was more than entertainment. It was a shared ritual, and Demond Wilson became part of that ritual for millions of families. Week after week, his face appeared in living rooms across America, calm and grounded amid chaos. He wasn't just acting in a hit show, he was shaping the rhythm of a cultural moment. As Lamont Sanford, Wilson played the steady counterbalance to one of television's most explosive comedic personalities. His performance brought realism, patience, and heart to a show built on loud humor and sharp exchanges. What made his presence special was restraint. He didn't chase laughs, he anchored them. At the height of his fame, when most actors were fighting to climb higher, Wilson made a decision few understood at the time. He chose to step away from the spotlight, beginning a journey that would redefine how success itself could be measured. Sanford and Son and the Power of Balance. When Sanford and Son premiered in 1972, it quickly became more than a sitcom. It was a phenomenon that reflected working-class life with humor and honesty. Red Fox's Fred Sanford was outrageous, unpredictable, and unforgettable. But the show worked because Demond Wilson's Lamont grounded it. Wilson was just 26 when he stepped into the role, facing the challenge of matching a comedy legend beat for beat. He succeeded not by overpowering Fox, but by playing the emotional truth. Lamont's frustration, loyalty, and quiet love gave the show its heart. The chemistry between them felt lived in, not scripted. Audiences didn't just laugh, they recognized themselves. At its peak, the show drew tens of millions of viewers weekly, becoming one of the highest-rated programs on television. Wilson became inseparable from American pop culture, even as he quietly questioned what that fame truly meant. Fame that arrived, faster than meaning success, came quickly for Demond Wilson, but fulfillment did not arrive on the same schedule. Fame opened doors, yet it also introduced pressures few outside Hollywood ever see. Schedules were relentless, expectations unyielding, and identity often reduced to a single role. Wilson worked consistently after Sanford and Son, appearing in other television projects and films, determined to prove his range. Yet beneath the surface, something felt incomplete. The applause was loud, but the inner questions were louder. Like many performers of his era, he faced an industry that rewarded visibility more than well-being. There was little space for reflection, vulnerability, or pause. For Wilson, the challenge was not staying famous, but understanding who he was without the constant affirmation of an audience. That tension slowly pushed him toward a deeper search, one that would lead him away from Hollywood's center and toward a very different kind of calling. A spiritual turning point. Sometime after reaching the height of television success, Demond Wilson experienced a profound personal shift. Rather than chasing the next role, he turned inward, asking questions about purpose, values, and identity. This search led him toward faith, not as a trend or reinvention, but as a grounding force. Wilson became an ordained minister and committed himself seriously to spiritual study and service. He spoke openly about how fame had left him feeling disconnected rather than fulfilled. For him, faith offered clarity, structure, and meaning that the entertainment industry could not provide. This wasn't a symbolic gesture or temporary retreat. It was a full transformation of priorities. He began writing books focused on spirituality and personal growth, using his voice not to entertain, but to guide and reflect. Walking away from major opportunities, Wilson chose conviction over visibility, redefining success on his own terms. Walking away without regret. One of the most striking aspects of Demond Wilson's story is how calmly he stepped away from Hollywood. There was no public meltdown, no dramatic exit, no bitterness toward the industry that made him famous. Instead, he simply chose distance. For nearly 2 decades, Wilson lived largely outside the spotlight, focusing on ministry, family, and writing. In an industry where relevance is treated as survival, this choice was radical. Many actors fear being forgotten, but Wilson seemed at peace with that possibility. His absence was not failure, it was intentional. He had already experienced what fame offered and what it took away. By leaving, he reclaimed ownership of his time and identity. His life during those years reminds us that stepping back does not erase achievement. Sometimes, it protects it. Wilson's legacy grew quieter, but also deeper, rooted in authenticity rather than constant exposure. A return. That meant something. After many years away from acting, Demond Wilson made a brief return to the screen, not for spectacle, but for substance. His later work reflected a different relationship with performance, one no longer driven by ambition but by intention. He chose projects that aligned with his values, treating acting as expression rather than escape. This return wasn't about reclaiming fame or reliving past glory. It was about closing a circle. Audiences who rediscovered him saw not a man chasing relevance, but one comfortable with who he had become. His presence carried the weight of lived experience, adding depth to every moment on screen. By returning on his own terms, Wilson demonstrated that careers do not need to follow straight lines to be meaningful. Sometimes stepping away is what allows an artist to come back with clarity, dignity, and purpose intact. A legacy beyond one character. Demond Wilson will always be remembered as Lamont Sanford, but reducing his legacy to a single role misses the fuller picture. His real impact lies in the example he set beyond television. He showed that it is possible to succeed in entertainment without letting it define your entire identity. He proved that walking away can be as powerful as breaking through. In a culture that equates visibility with worth, Wilson chose values, family, and faith over constant recognition. His story challenges the idea that fame is the ultimate goal. Instead, it reframes success as alignment between who you are and how you live. The reruns continue to introduce new generations to his work, but his life off-screen offers lessons just as lasting. He demonstrated that integrity can outlive applause, and that fulfillment often begins where the spotlight ends. The quiet strength of choice. What makes Demond Wilson's journey resonate today is its relevance. In a world driven by attention, his choices feel countercultural. He did not reject success. He redefined it. He didn't disappear. He redirected. That kind of clarity requires courage, especially in an industry that rarely encourages pause. Wilson's story reminds us that personal peace does not always come from more achievement, but from knowing when enough is enough. His life encourages reflection, not imitation. Each path is personal, but the principle remains universal. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to step away. You are allowed to choose meaning over momentum. That quiet strength, exercised consistently, may be his greatest contribution of all. Long after the laughter fades, that example continues to speak. A story still teaching us. Demond Wilson's life is not a cautionary tale or a tragedy. It is a study in balance. He experienced immense success, stepped away when it no longer served him, and built a life rooted in conviction. Few stories from Hollywood offer that kind of resolution. His journey reminds us that the roles we play professionally are only part of who we are. What endures is how we live when the cameras stop rolling. Whether remembered through classic television or thoughtful reflection, Wilson's story continues to teach us that fulfillment is not found in applause alone. It is found in alignment, purpose, and the courage to walk your own path, even when it leads away from everything the world expects you to want.